Certified code, please.
All right, let's see. Town of Ashland, Miss Amos. Charles City County, Mr. Mitchell. Miss Russell. We do have Miss Russell with us. I'll mark her as present. I'm not sure if she'll be able to join as a panelist. Chesterfield County, Miss Smith, Vice Chair Smith.
Here.
Miss Walker.
Here.
Goochland County, Mr. Goyne.
Here.
Mr. Coleman. Hanover County, Mr. Vadunez. Henrico County, Mr. Yor.
Here.
Miss Meidler.
Here.
New Kent County, Miss Inman.
Here. Thank you.
Miss Leduc. Powhatan County, Mr. Shardine. City of Richmond, Chair Clark.
Here.
DRPT, Ms. Dubinsky. Mr. Wagner. VDOT, Mr. Totten. Mr. Riblet. I'm
Here.
sorry, was that Miss? Thank you. Miss McAdory.
Here.
Virginia Port Authority, Miss Nelson. GRTC, Miss Torres. RMTA, Miss Dean. Plan RVA, Mr. Parsons.
Here.
Thank you. That concludes the roll call for attendance. We do have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Firestone. Welcome everyone to our Monday, August 14th, 2023 CVTA Technical Advisory Committee meeting. We're going to go ahead and move to item 3, which I do believe we have a consideration for amendments to the agenda. And that consideration was looking to change item 9 on the agenda from informational item to action item. That is the Fall On Trail update and hoping to provide actionable direction to move forward to the Finance Committee. So is there a motion to amend the agenda as so stated?
This is Barb. So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second. Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Ure. So we have a motion and a second. I guess we could do this votes. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Thank you. That item has been changed to an action item when we get there. We now need a motion to approve our June 12th, 2023 meeting minute. Is there a motion for that approval?
So moved. It's Todd.
Thank you, Mr. Ure.
I'll second.
Thank you, Austin. It's been moved in second. We can take a voice vote on this. All those in favor of approval of the last month's meeting, well, June meeting minutes, say aye.
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 All
Aye.
those opposed, please say nay. Thank you. On to item 5. We have our public comment period. Have we received any comments via email or website? Or
No, ma'am.
Awesome. They don't know what they're missing.
Mhm.
On to item number 6. I would like to just briefly turn the floor over to Chet and maybe have him give us a slight update on the CEO selection for the CVTA. Chet's looking at me like, what do you want me to say?
Madam Chair, can you repeat what I'm supposed to be updating on?
You know what you're supposed to tell everyone. Again, I will break it. Well, there was a vote of acceptance of Mr. Parsons as the Chief Executive Officer for the Central. He's like, oh, that for the Central Virginia Association. And I did want to share that with everyone. And I wanted Chet to share it with everyone. so that we're all on the same page. You know, we go to the meetings and they talk about stuff. I did think it would be cool if the technical people knew what was happening at the executive level.
Yes, thank you very much. At this point, there isn't a whole lot to share. I mean, I have been selected as the top candidate, working on what that actually looks like and when start date would be and that kind of thing. But soon, I think we'll be able to share back more concrete information about that transition and what it means for CVTA as well as the TPO and Planner VA. But thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Good job, Chad. So that was my report. I just wanted to share that a little bit of news that we have as far as Chad will keep us posted. But again, I don't want anybody in the dark. We'll move on to item number 7. This is our FY23 annual certification and quarterly reporting. So again, based on the code and the charter that established, I think they talk about quarterly reporting. I know they do for at least GRTC. But anyway, it's a requirement from our auditors now, and the policy is baked into the policy. And the annual certification gets signed by your CAO or your chief, or your board chairman or your county administrator. So hopefully everyone has gotten those allocations in. I know Richmond's is still almost through that review process and should be any day now. So anyone else that may need to get that, we need that in for auditing purposes. But also what was turned in was the FY23 quarterly reporting, which have been all the quarters for 23 of expenditures. And all of this is in our agenda packet. And then finally, we were requested to submit information for the FY24 local allocation plans. So again, just a projection on what you think you'll be spending your dollars on, and if any dollars will be spent. So if everyone has been able to review that, we can discuss it. I believe that Mr. Parsons can talk in more detail about it if necessary, but we do want to go ahead and move those local allocation plans to the Finance Committee. So I have lots of
Madam
questions.
Chair,
Yes,
I'll provide a little bit more background. I'm not sure. I think everybody has done this at least one cycle that's on the call, but if not, basically the intent here is to show that the local dollars that have been collected by CVTA are being used for transportation purposes to satisfy the requirements of the code. So the 3 different sections here. The first is the FY23 annual certifications. That is a certification that is signed by the CAO or designee, certifying that, for instance, Hanover County has spent funding from CVTA in FY23 that satisfied the requirements of the code, and it all went for transportation purposes. Everybody's doing different things with the money, so that's just an overall certification at the administrative level. The quarterly reporting kind of backs that up. So the idea is that we'll show, we'll give everybody 4 chances to update spending throughout the year, ending in a final June 30th understanding of all the funds that have been spent through the CVTA local fund for various transportation purposes in each locality. And then the next one is kind of the look ahead. So that's the FY24 local allocation plan. It's not binding. It's really just a blueprint so that the authority and the public will have an idea of what the intent is and what the hope is for each locality for the fiscal year that we're in right now, FY24, and where funding is expected to be spent. That can be updated at any point during the year, but it's really just to kind of provide a blueprint and a kind of a tracking tool for the rest of the authority to understand what everybody's trying to do with local money. Our hope with the agenda item today is to set everything up for action by the authority on September 29th. That's the next board meeting. We hope everybody will be able to have the annual certification signed by then. I think we're doing fairly well compared to previous years, but that always seems to take the longest to get the elected official signatures or the CAO signatures. But otherwise, I've gotten, I think Austin has his hand raised. I've already gotten notification from him that something's incorrect. So the hope was just get feedback from everybody having this in the agenda so that I can get everything fixed and ready for inclusion in the September authority agenda packet. Thank you.
Thanks, Chet. Actually, I have Joe first, and then Amy, and then Austin.
Thank you, Dorona. As far as Hanover is concerned, this is a moot point because we have not spent any regional CVTA dollars as of yet. But just asking for clarification, just so we're all consistent here, because we use the term local expenditures. Are we talking about local CVTA local expenditures or CVTA regional expenditures or both? So we just need to be careful, I think, in terms of exactly what we're looking for. My presumption is that we should be reporting the expenditure of both of those sources of funds, but I'll defer.
Yeah, thanks, Joe, for that point that you made. So I guess the first point of clarity, the quarterly expenditures are your local funds. These are your funds that you are tracking in your own government special fund that you should be able to be pulling out. What are those expenses that you've been spending your local dollars on? Because that's still a part of the creation of the authority and the good that it's doing in our localities on projects and different things. So that's what the local funds expenditure. I think later in this conversation today, we will talk about spend down plans, which mirror closer to your that the spend down plans are really for the regional dollars so that we can keep track of how we can leverage our dollars in the investment market. And it's really a tool just to say, like, how many dollars would do we need now for these regional projects that we're implementing. So I hope that helped clarify some for some people. And again, we'll talk about the regional and the spend down plan later today, but this is specific for anticipating the previous year, which is your allocation plan, which would be 24, what you anticipate spending your local dollars on. And then the quarterly expenditures are actual expenditures, not purchase orders, but actually expenditures on the books of spent local dollars. So I'll continue with the questions. Amy.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Okay, so I guess looking at the 24 allocation plan, those do not reflect what I provided to Chet. So there are several things that are remaining on there that we're no longer, that aren't on our list for our fiscal year 24 work program, like the South Clicker Road widening. I've taken that off of our list. I've updated some of the description on a couple of the items from construction to design and engineering, also adjusted the costs on those items. And then there were some items that I've updated costs on and they're not updated here. So quite a few things are not accurate on the list that was sent out versus what I provided. So, and what New Kent group has agreed on. So I don't know if I need to resubmit that or if I need to update this, but would like to make sure that it's correct before it goes to the full executive committee. Just so it actually reflects what it is we've all agreed on New Kent side.
And are you specifically talking about for the 24 allocation plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I mean, I'm glad to know it's kind of it's just sort of illustrative, but I still don't want to give wrong information out on items that we're not doing or updating costs that are pretty significant, right? I mean, there's $3 million still identified on one of our projects that I've taken way down to 125,000 for design and engineering. So it's pretty substantial.
But they're all your dollars and you're able to change it at any time. So yes, let's please get Chet updated information.
Okay, that's my point, is I did give him the updated information. And what is showing on what he sent out is not reflective of what I provided to him. So I don't know how to make sure that this is accurate.
Do me a favor and please send me the updated information again. Thank
Okay,
you.
I sent it, but I will be happy to resend it again. But before it goes out, I would like to see it before you send this out. I want to see an updated list before it goes any further than this group.
And Chet, what's our timeline with this again? It's
We'll be putting the agenda together probably the first week in September.
so this, I mean, could this come back to
Second week.
for the 29th meeting?
Yeah.
Do y'all feel comfortable with that? I'll go on to Austin. Otherwise, we can review it like we do over the email. If
Yeah, I just want to, I mean, I look, I'm fine if everybody else is fine. I just want, before it goes to the executive board, the executive committee, that I look at it and it's reflective of what we have provided to Chet previously and what I'm going to send to him again to make sure that it's accurately reflected on the list. That's all.
Okay, thank you,
All right, thank you.
Amy. All right, Austin.
Yeah, and Chet alluded to it earlier. I sent him an email maybe a half hour ago or so that it looks like the items we have in here are just holdovers from last year. So I just, Chet, I sent you the revised spreadsheet again. Just want to make sure it's accurate, even though it's a fluid document. It'll be accurate as of today at 1:17. That's all.
So, to the group, Amy, did you have your hand back up?
Sorry, I'll take it down. Sorry about that.
Okay. Being grouped that this is non-binding, do we feel comfortable with going ahead, taking action on it with the caveat that it will come back for review before being published? I think everybody's good with that. So with that, do we have a motion to recommend approval of the 24 local allocation plan with revisions provided by any locality? Let's set a date and that way we can get it back.
I mean, I'll resend him the email that I sent previously. I'll do that right now. So.
Oh, no. I just want to let him have time to update the form and get it back to everybody. I guess Chet.
Madam Chair, maybe I can offer a better solution. If you want, we should have time to put this back on the agenda for the September 11th TAC meeting for final approval. And then following that, we can get the agenda out.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you want. I think
That'll work. That's fine with us.
Okay, so this action item, we're gonna table until the next meeting.
And then we might have all the certifications by then too.
Okay, perfect. September 11th, which that's a week before that, so it's still about by the 4th.
So, oh, sorry. I gotta open my hand up again.
Yes, Amy.
Okay, so is there a current update? Because Chet, I also sent to you our signed exhibit A.
Clarification.
So with this whole other email that I sent to you on looks like I sent it to you on July 17th. So do we have a list of a current what you have received on that, so we can verify that you've received our exhibit A?
She's asked, yeah, for the annual cert, who's missing from chat, do you know?
Let me check. Hang on.
Okay.
because that's disturbing me.
I have new Kens.
Awesome. So again, everyone, please work on getting those in. This item will be tabled till our next meeting. On to item 8, Chet.
Thank you. There is a lot of information as an accessory item in the agenda packet, but as you know, we've moved forward with 3 jurisdictions, CVTA locality standard project agreements, and now on the agenda for today is a packet of CVTA VDOT standard project agreements. So these are all SPAs for regional projects that have received regional money that will be administered by VDOT. So I've been working with Dale and his team on getting those standard project agreements in place, at least in a format for review by the TAC. And I'll talk about that more in a little bit of detail in a minute, but all of those SPAs are included in the packet. There's a link to the documents. It's fairly hefty in size, but the thing to take note of is the Appendix A and B, which actually shows the schedule and the funding and programming plan for each of those projects. If you link to the documents themselves, there is a cover page. Well, in the packet itself is a cover page. So they're all identified by the assigned CVTA project number, starting with project 16, which is I-64 at Ashland Road, going all the way down to project 45, which is I-64 widening. All of those projects are essentially ready to go and have been submitted by VDOT. So we're working with them now to make sure that they're in a place for action at the September 29th full authority meeting. The process that we're establishing, this is the first time, other than the fall line design build 1, that was kind of the initial salvo into the VDOT CVTA SPAs, but this is kind of the second round, if you will, of VDOT submissions. So we're going to handle those in a very similar manner and work with VDOT just like we would with Henrico or Chesterfield or any of the locality SPAs that are in place. Be happy to take any questions on any of the particular projects. I know that Mark and Liz are here as well to provide any context or clarity. One of the things I do want to note is that we have determined in working with VDOT staff that the submission of these SPAs is a little clunky, and my plan is to develop a more streamlined, like a fillable PDF that leaves space for relevant information to be included, and because there's a lot of formatting that needs to be fixed and those kinds of things. So I think that once we end up with, if we have affirmative action today, we'll have a little bit of a cleaner set of SPAs for consideration at the authority level. But this is a learning process, and we're, as I said, we're just getting started with this. So that's my intent. Wouldn't change the content, would just change the appearance of the packet. Madam Chair, that's it. Happy to take any questions. I know see a lot of hands raised.
Yep. So I have first up, Mr. Mitchell. All right. Are you there, Mr. Mitchell? Hey, Gary. I'll move on to you, Barb, and come back to Gary.
How about now?
Oh, I hear you. Yes, Mr. Mitchell.
Okay.
My question is my 106 study corridor in this list of spas because it's a VDOT administered thing, or is that going to come under a different body?
At this point, it's not. I mean, Mark can answer this, but this is not one of the projects that has been submitted. At this
That
point,
project has, Chet, I apologize for interrupting. That project has RSTP funding on it, I believe.
You're correct, and it's in our system, and we're working to kick it off with them outside of this process.
great. So different source of funds.
Okay.
Okay. Barb,
I wanted to see if other people could use the link that's in the agenda to get them to pull up. When I try, it's not working. Have other people gotten that to work? It could just be me.
The link did work for us.
Put that into work.
Okay. Just me. All right.
No, you're not alone. I wasn't able to get it to work.
Okay. I don't need to see them.
Check the chat, Barb.
Thank you.
okay. Awesome. So then I have VDOT's hand up.
I appreciate it, Chair. I did want to provide two quick notes. Following approval by the CVTA, we will take this before the CTB. We anticipate that that would occur potentially in the November or December timeframe based on their schedules. So full execution of the agreements and posting the dollars to these UPCs wouldn't occur until after the CTB actually approves these. We don't anticipate any challenges with that, but we did want to put that kind of on an expectation and a calendar schedule for you guys. That's one of two things. The second thing is we have had some discussions with Chet about potentially updating the format of the SPA agreement to be potentially more similar to the locality CVTA SPA agreements. So if there is no objection, if we continue to work with our central office and Chet on the formatting of the agreement, what we might ask is for support from TAC that the content of the agreement in terms of the dollar value and the projects identified and the schedules identified in these draft SPA agreements, as long as there's no objection, if we come up with a revised SPA format that may be more simple, and again, maybe patterned after the locality CVTA agreements, we generally like the thoughts of this group in terms of being able to take a revised format potentially to the authority the end of September. So those are the two things I just want to update on, that's all.
Thank you. And yeah, I would say just keep us posted. So I guess with that, you may be bringing something to this group to our September meeting on the revised or via email if you want a review on it.
We could certainly bring that before the group in September, just from a formatting perspective for sure, if that's up to Chet.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if we're just the formatting, I don't see an issue with that. If we're going to look at simplifying any of the language, then we'll need to get legal review also, but I'll check into that and let you know.
Okay. Thank you. So right now we do have a action being requested, and it's the recommendation of the SPA agreements between CVTA and VDOT, and authorize the CVTA chair to execute the agreements, and have CVTA staff take the actions necessary to fulfill the terms of the agreement. Do we have a motion for these SPA agreements for approval, for recommendation for approval?
Mrs. Todd, so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to say, Todd, is that your hand up?
No.
Okay. I just want to say congratulations, VDOT. Thank you. You have successfully been implementing CVTA projects. So thank you so much for your hard work. And we're really excited for this. This is the biggest list we've seen. So thank you so much. That's all I have, and I will be in support of that motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Firestone, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Amos? Mr. Mitchell?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Goin?
Aye.
Mr. Vadunez?
Aye.
Mr. Yor?
Aye.
Ms. Inman?
Aye.
And Chair Clark?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries.
Janice, can I get clarification? Did you hear a vote from Nora?
I did not. I was just about to check and make sure she was still with us, but she did vote, and I was hearing feedback at the time for some reason.
She's saying yes, we could hear. I can see her thumbs up.
Okay, I see thumbs up, but can't hear it. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. So we'll move on to item number 9, the Fall Line Trail, talking specifically about the design build 2 and 3 being administered by VDOT. And looks like Ms. McAdory is going to take the lead on this item.
Yep, good afternoon, everybody. Real quickly for design build 1, that's the portion from Holly Hill Road to Walder that includes the Chickahominy River crossing. Everyone, I think, is aware that it was advertised and it's been awarded, and we are still anticipating construction to begin this fall. Design build number 2, that's from Patton Park to West 100 Road. We still have survey and RFP development is underway. However, and I believe this was mentioned at the last CVTA Fall Line Trail Committee meeting, I was unable to attend. But there were some concerns with the southern alignment. WRA, our consultant, gave a presentation at that last CVTA Fall Line Trail meeting. We've been working on updating cost estimates for various alignments. We discussed those at that meeting. And we anticipate coming back to that meeting and providing further updates and asking you guys, to take action at that CVTA Fall Line meeting to then come to the TAC. We're hoping for advertisements later this year. Obviously, that's subject to the decisions for the alignment and funding. We do anticipate the cost to increase. So the advertisement is going to be dependent on that. And we'll have ongoing discussions both with CVTA, the Fall Line Committee, and the impacted localities as well on that. For Design Build 3, we've kind of halted work because it's going to be dependent again on decisions made for Design Build 2. So anything that we work with Design Build 3 will be contingent on those final decisions of resolution for Design Build 2. And Mark or I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Question? Barb, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. So those of you who were on the Fall Line Trail Working Group call saw that VDOT proposed an alternative to the off-road alignment that has been shifted to avoid artifacts and other things, which that alignment is double the original estimate for the southern section. So VDOT proposed a new alignment that would be an on-road facility. The affected communities or, directly impacted communities, Petersburg, Chesterfield, and Colonial Heights have met to talk about which alignment they would support. And FOLAR also weighed in on that because they're impacted as well. And we all support the blue alignment, which is the one with the biggest funding gap. And what I would like to propose is to make a recommendation to move the CVTA regional money from Design Build 3, which is about $25 million, onto Design Build 2. And I'm asking for an action, making that an action to recommend to the full authority that we transfer the money off of 3 to 2. That still leaves a funding gap on 3, but Chesterfield and Petersburg and Colonial Heights all agreed the priority would be to go from Petersburg to Chester, so working south to north. And then that just leaves a bit of a gap on 3, but we'll be very active in trying to get that closed. And then we'll start trying to get the money that we need to extend the Fall Line Trail from Route 10 to Route 1. So anyone have questions for me on that?
VDOT has their hand up, so let's hear from VDOT and then Henrico.
So just an observation, if there was a support for moving CVTA funding to Design Build 2, what we could do to assist would be to have a draft SPA agreement available for CVTA TAC at your September 11th meeting. So if the desire is to move forward to do that, we can follow up with a draft SPA agreement to recognize that. That could potentially then all be acted at the September 29th meeting with the other projects that you just took action on in the previous item. So just
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Todd and then Amy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Barb and Mark, just to confirm, so if you shift this money now, it would allow Design Build 2 to move forward through the procurement process at this point?
Yes, VDOT has indicated that there's a sort of a time critical element to making this decision because they've got a place in line for a design build contract for 2. And if we don't figure out which alignment we want and how we're going to fund it, they lose their place in line. And so there's a big delay. If you need to know more about that, though, I'll defer to VDOT.
so I agree with Barb's yes answer and the reasons why. The one caution I would have is that there still is a bit of an unknown relative to the cultural resource impacts. I know that our PM and environmental are both working with WRA right now to kind of outline some best next steps and possible impacts to the schedule based on proceeding with the blue alignment. Certainly any updates that we have, we can bring back to the working group meeting at their September 6th meeting. But to answer your question, Todd, yes, we can certainly proceed in the procurement process if we get the SPA agreement moving forward because of this. The procurement process will require that whatever we move forward in the procurement process, we demonstrate a full funding for.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So I think several of my questions were answered, but what is the order of magnitude in terms of the gap money that we're moving from phase 3 to phase 2? I think if this is a formal action item for TAC, it would be helpful if there was actual numbers that we're working with instead of it's double the cost, because not everybody is as familiar as you all are. And I think the formality of this is, I believe, very important. Even though there's a working group that is, it's not in the bylaws, it's not, it's kind of a ad hoc group that we're taking recommendations from. So if we're making these big changes, it needs to be well documented and the reasons why. And then also, just for my own information, again, I'm not as familiar as you all are with the segments. So what is segment 3 that will then have to be funded?
I can answer those questions. So Design Build 2 goes from the river to Route 10 in Chester. Design Build 3 goes from Route 10 in Chester to Route 1. Design Build 2 was estimated to cost $44 million, and it cost $87 million with the new alignment that's shifted. Design Build 3 has $25 million programmed to it, and that was supposed to fully fund it, but it was a planning level estimate, so probably not. So the request is to move $25 million off of Design Build 3, the section from 10 to 1, onto Design Build 2 from the Appomattox River to Chester. So that would mean that Design Build 2 has 68 million on it. It needs 87. So there's
you're
still,
a significant funding gap.
right.
So, but I guess then it sounds like VDOT is able to move forward with procurement of design and engineering of the phase 2 if you move this money over, and that's kind of the critical path right now.
Yeah, they'll be able to, they're gonna have to change the limits of the project because they can't get all the way to Route 10 in
Right.
Chester. So they're gonna have to figure out what the limits are. And then they'll be able to procure a design build contract that will start the design, you know, taking whatever design they've got already and finalizing the design and moving forward with the project.
For as far as they can go with the 60-some million.
That's right.
All right.
And
Okay.
Amy,
Helpful.
if I could add one thing, just when we were putting together, trying to fund all segments of the fall line, which we haven't. And so right now there's probably 96 million remaining. And now we see there's going to be another 25 from this segment. So that gap is getting a little bit bigger for unfunded segments. We're working kind of in the confines of the authority, which allocated money to DB 1, 2, and 3. So they've already said that these are the sections that they want, you know, this money to go on. And now we're just making an adjustment just to actually complete 1 and do more of 2, which we can't do at this point. We can't do 2 or 3. So we're trying to make the best out of 2, which is to move 3 to an unfunded stage and move this one to funding a shorter amount of that segment.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And thank you for all that. I think since this is a fairly big change in the funding program for this project, it would be helpful if we had more formal, you know, documentation of this, if you're asking for tax approval of this, because going forward, you know, questions could be asked, and if there aren't formal things going through the TAC, I think there's could be questions.
So I think that, and I'll let Barb answer, but again, ours is really just still a informal recommendation to the finance committee and to the full authority to really make that decision. And so we're just presenting where we have a problem, we're presenting a potential solution. And they may not want the solution. But again, we do think it's fair that this group can provide some input and help guide whatever outcome may come of it. Barb has her hand up. If you're finished, Amy, you have more?
Yeah, I just wanted to, if VDOT, if I've said anything incorrect, I'm sure VDOT will come in and correct me on those numbers.
Barb, we can confirm that you're good. Everything that you said was on target with what we have here.
Yep.
Okay, and then having that recorded in the minutes of today's meeting, the specifics. And then when we take, if the TAC is supportive of recommending that transfer, when we have an agenda item before the finance committee and the full authority, we can have more detailed information.
Barb, I would also note to that the presentation we gave to the working group is published online on the CVTA's website. So everything that was proposed here is consistent with what was presented at that time. So that's just another source of information that's out there.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to be clear that the TAC is, the working group is sort of an ad hoc. Okay, so formally it needs to come through TAC. I understand that you're not looking, I guess, for a formal recommendation to move this forward, but I understand and respect the work that the working group is doing, but that it also needs to be respected of the TAC and what our role is on this whole process. That's all.
Thank you, Amy. Barb?
Well, I am making a motion that the CVTA TAC recommend the transfer of $25 million from Design Build 3 to Design Build 2. And allowing VDOT to bring the SPA agreement to the next TAC meeting. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So I am making that motion. If there's a second for it.
Second,
So we have a motion and a second. Do you have any further discussion? Hearing none, I would take a roll call vote, please, Ms. Firestone.
Yes, ma'am. Miss Amos,
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell,
aye.
Vice Chair Smith,
Aye.
Mr. Going,
Aye.
Mr. Vadunez,
Aye.
Mr. Yor,
Aye.
Miss Inman,
Aye.
and Chair Clark. Thank you. The motion carries.
Awesome. Oh, we helped solve a problem today. Good job, everyone. Let's move to item 10, the spin down plans. Is that you, Barb?
Yeah. It's very short, only 5 minutes. Chet has requested that we and our financial manager for the CVTA has requested our spend down plan updates. And that's for the regional funding. So she needs that information, Rebecca Longnecker, to invest funds. So each locality is asked to look at their active CVTA regionally funded projects and do their best guess of how the money is going to be spent on the project. And that allows her to see when we need cash and when we don't, because she knows what the allocations are versus the anticipated expenditures. What we've done over here is we've looked at similar projects and the expenditures we've had on those and kind of developed these curves. You know, we always have the big expensive survey at the front of a project. At the back of the project, we always have the big expensive paving. So we can kind of make a guess about when we're going to have the big hits of money and when things are going to be more stable. And we have an opportunity to update that. How often do we update the CVTA regional spend down, Chet? I also call it cash flow. Are we required to do that every quarter or twice a year? I ought to
CVTA
know that, I'm
regional,
sorry.
yeah, it's not a reporting requirement, I don't think. But we do like to keep it updated. I mean, the last time we actually discussed this spreadsheet
Was a
the
year
spend
ago.
down was a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to do it more than once a year for sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's a good time to pull out what you submitted originally if you did submit something, and see how you're doing, compare it to reality and update it. And if you haven't submitted one yet and you know you're going to have expenditures coming up, do your best guess at how you think that cash flow is going to work for each of your projects. And you know, if you have any questions, you can call me and I'm happy to tell you it's just a guess. So anyone have questions?
And Barb, did we say where was that spreadsheet getting sent out to everyone?
I think Chet's gonna distribute it.
Yeah, I can send it out again. Sure. I'll send it the latest version we have with the information that's in there.
And there's a
And just
tab for
everybody can
each
update.
locality, right?
And VDOT.
And VDOT, yep.
So we're gonna need it from VDOT also. Thank you.
Yeah, VDOT, and VDOT's got that big pile of projects that they're getting started on, so yeah. What's the deadline for that? I know Rebecca would like it sooner rather than later because every finance meeting she goes to, they ask about how's your money? How are we investing this money?
Yes. We are, yeah. I mean, I think as soon as you're able to get it back to me, I mean, we'll follow up if I don't hear anything from you, but the goal here is that we've got money that's basically in the bank when there aren't projects that funds are allocated to in each fiscal year. So the idea is to reinvest it on short, medium, like 6 month, 12-month reinvestment strategies so that we can continue to grow the interest and build up the regional fund while it's waiting to be allocated. So yeah, I mean, ideally, I'd love to have it by the end of the month, if that's possible. It would be great to have this back on the agenda for everybody to have a look at on September 11th. So, I mean, Madam Chair, if you want me to set a date, let's say Friday the 1st.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, yeah, and feel free as you're working on that, if you've got any questions, give me a call. I don't know how helpful I'll be, because it's just a guess. Okay, thanks.
All right, awesome. Thank you. So again, we are trying to get those estimated spending for the region now. So we're excited. The next item is item 11. We've done really good today. This is the CVTA regional project cycle updates. We have some new folks participating from different localities, and I had gotten some calls on clarity of the process, and I was going through my old things, and Chet saw me hold it up in the meeting. I was really old green timeline. So I was like, QQ, we need to update this. So hopefully this item is talking about that to settle everyone and get all of us prepared to submit when the application cycle opens. So I'll turn it over to you, Chet.
Thank you very much. Yes, it is what you think it is. So if you look on page 12 of the agenda packet, the page that's hyperlinked, that is basically a working schedule of when things will happen with the CVTA regional funding for round 3. I am working to kind of create this in a more user-friendly version, like the green pages that the chair was talking about. But the idea is that we will have applications open, and the end date for those will be the end of September. So you'll have adequate time to fill in the applications during September, with then the project, the process outlined from the top in blue down to the bottom in orange. So project submissions, project screening, scoring, prioritization, and then allocations plan. And we'll build that in over time, so you can see when it will be on the agenda for TAC, for finance, very similar to what we did with round 2, with the end date of having the authority approval at its January meeting. It's the plan right now. So September through January. And once I get the kind of the infographic version of the schedule done, I'll be sure to send that out to everybody, and we'll post it everywhere. I think you're muted.
All right, thank you, Chet. This is helpful. Amy has her hand up.
Yeah, great. Thank you. This is very helpful. So when you say the estimate and schedule review by third party, who's the third party? Do you have consultants on board that are doing this work?
We don't. The second round, we put out an RFP, and that's being developed right now. So it'll be a quick turnaround, just to do this one task order. Previously, we used a bench that Chesterfield had vetted already to do a lot of their in-house work, and I think that went pretty well in terms of getting a positive response rate, and the reviews went pretty smoothly. So I think that's something that TAC needs to talk about. Hopefully, once I get the language ready, maybe we can do that on the September 11th agenda, because I didn't have it prepared for the agenda today, so I don't want to ask something that nobody's prepared to talk about.
Okay, let me make sure I'm clear. So you're wanting to do a procurement. to issue, to have a third party consultant. You don't have that. You're developing a proposal right now, or a scope, something, and that you want to put out and have this group review it in September. Then, I mean, what's your time frame for being able to get a consultant on board by the end of September and get them up to speed?
Yeah, and Amy, just to, I think I hear your question. And based on a little bit of what Chet is saying, last year we used a bench contract. So one, I'm not sure if we're going to use the bench contract this year.
That's what, yeah. That
The
didn't
complete
sound-
RFP. But you typically where the TAC is involved is not in that selection of the third party, but more in interacting with the third party when they're reviewing their specific applications.
Right, and I'm good with that. I just am trying to understand his process for getting somebody on board in time to do this review. And to be clear, are you seeking to get a new contract for CVTA to do this work, or are you still trying to pivot off of Chesterfield and you're just going to issue them a task order?
I don't know if he knows yet, but do you know?
I mean, this is okay. Do we know, Chet? I mean, is that what your plan is for that, I guess?
The plan right now is to use the same process that we used for round two.
So you're gonna
All those details need to be ironed out still. I mean, the review doesn't need to be it's fairly simple, and I think we have a process that we used successfully last time.
Okay.
Barb. Oh, wait. Oh, it's gone. All right, awesome. So this was an information item. So again, we're just trying to give everybody some heads up. I guess we'll talk in more detail. We're all, we were on a slight vacation working on the actual process itself, and now we're back to the real thing. So all of us, let's wake up and we'll get ready to embrace this and see what the region will put forth in our next application cycle. I'm excited to see. With that, we can move to item 12.
Actually, Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
the item 11B was not an attachment to the packet, but we want to develop a candidate project database for regional funds. That's why it's included here, to understand from every jurisdiction what possible projects exist out there that might be good recipients for regional funding. So we're thinking big vision list kinds of projects that would trigger a change in the current funding mechanism. Right now, we're doing all regional projects with a PEGA model. At some point, we need to have a better idea of the expectations for regional CVTA funds in the next 2 to 5 years, so that we can prepare the authority to make the decisions that they need to make regarding available funding levels, timeframes for when those allocations need to take place, and everything else. If you look back at the allocations plan that we currently have, with I-64 included, we're looking at FY28 for the next available year, according to our current funding mechanism. So that could impact timing for regional, big regional projects in the future. So we're just trying to, at this point, we don't know organizationally what those needs are going to be. So developing this project database will be a big help for better fiscal planning for what the expectations are going to be and when they're going to be needed.
And thanks, Chet. I think that's a great idea. I guess my only question would be, are you anticipating this database development before the applications are due or after?
I don't think it has to be before the applications are due. I mean, I'm not expecting all of the projects in this database to be part of this application cycle. I mean, it may be something that happens in the next cycle, depending on when the need is going to arise. You know, with the complexity of some of these projects, it's going to take a couple years to get them ready to be actionable. So I think at this point, my vision is that the project database will be a working database that TAC can use and finance can use to think about future allocations.
Okay, thank you. Barb?
This is another topic that comes up at finance a lot, which is, you know, the discussion of bonding. And I think without having kind of a big picture view of what's out there that needs money, it's really hard for them to talk about bonding. So I would like to put a deadline on it so that we get this done and don't just talk about it every agenda. So could we say have it done in a month? Does that give people enough time?
So, let me just ask a question.
Start talking. Amy?
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. All right, so Chet already had, let me just be clear. Chet already has a spreadsheet that's gonna be sent out to everyone, and we're gonna populate the spreadsheet, or we're just gonna give our projects, send in what we think our projects are with potential cost estimates.
We don't have anything developed yet, but it shouldn't be hard. I mean, this isn't going to be a very complex spreadsheet to start with, but I think project description, estimate, and time frame, I think is the big three.
Yeah, well, time frame all depends on the money. So
Yeah.
We probably don't need time frame.
Well, I mean, chicken or the egg,
That's
right? I
pretty
mean,
important piece.
if you could develop it in the time frame you want, what would that be?
Oh, yeah. So if the money
But then we
were
can
available, how
plan for
quickly
when the
could you
funds-
deliver it?
The project,
Yes.
Got it.
okay. All right, I think a month for me would be all right.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
I knew Barb was looking for time. Awesome. So we're gonna have a month, and I'm so happy that Richmond is undergoing our Richmond Connects process, and I have so many great projects I would love to submit. So, and I would love early on to know if they're regionally eligible. So on to the next item, 12. Our September CVTA TAC meeting date looks like we need a change, Mr. Parsons.
Yes, there was a conflict, I believe, with I don't know, remember what it was. It was a VDOT conference or something like that. Barb or Todd, did you mention that? But the request was to reschedule the meeting to September 12th.
Oh, to the Tuesday. So 8. Oh, just do it at 1 o'clock on the Tuesday after the RRTPO meeting.
Yes, please.
All right, do we have a motion for this date rescheduling change?
So moved, Nora.
Thanks, Nora.
Second, Gary.
Thank you, Gary. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed,
Aye.
please say no.
Aye.
Perfect. Meeting is moved till the 12th. Oh yeah, and I think September 11th too. If anybody's in town, you can come by and see the opening of the downtown, GRTC's downtown transfer center in Richmond is going to be on September 11th. And I have to caveat temporary, sorry. Don't get me started. So the next thing is our CVTA TAC member comments. Does anyone have anything to say to the group? Awesome. Next meeting, September 12th, 1:00. Hearing no other questions, comments, thank you so much for today. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.